Hi there, you are learning IELTS writing on Learning Shame. And today we're gonna learn how to write the IELTS Writing Task 1 Trend by looking at a model which I think can get about 8 points to 9 points in the IELTS test. Before we look at this model, please bear in mind that if you haven't looked at my playlist showing you how to write the IELTS Writing Task 1 Trend, please go to the description, click on the link and watch it. Some of the videos are made in Vietnamese, but there are English subtitles available, so enjoy. Anyway, this is a graph that we're gonna analyze and write today. First start, this is of course a line chart, which is about line. Alright, the information here is the average carbon dioxide emissions, which, well, is countable according to the last time I checked. And the place here is the UK, Sweden, Italy, and Spain, and last but not least, the time 1997 and 2017. Okay, I think that's enough for the introduction. Let's write the introduction first. Well, no offense, but if you are a traditional writer, you may write something like the line chart, the line graph, demonstrate, illustrate, blah blah blah. Well, that's not wrong. Totally, that's not wrong. It may get you like 6, 7, even 8. However, if you want to get 9, I think you should be creative a little bit. The way the model is written here is instead of using active voice like this, they use passive voice. So basically, passive voice allows us to change the object into the subject. So we have the average number of CO2 emissions emitted by individual in the UK, Sweden, Italy, and Spain. You can see that I do a little bit of paraphrasing here. I use a relative clause, reduced relative clause to talk about the emitted by individuals in the UK, Sweden, Italy, and Spain. And then I give the time within a 40-year period, and then I add a verb. Is depicted vividly in the given line chart. You can see the verb here is passive voice, is depicted, unlike most of the passive voice in which we eliminate the subjects. Here we give a subject in the form of a noun phrase in the given line chart. Right. So instead of using active voice, the line chart demonstrate blah blah blah, we can do the passive voice to make it a little bit different. So blah blah blah, and then is depicted in the line chart. Same things, but different ways. Last but not least, I give the measurement, the tongues, the measurement. There are 2 reasons for this. First, in the body, I can omit writing this. Secondly, well, you can see here it is an absolute clause. Absolute clause is a subject and verb. In case you don't know, search for my videos. The use of absolute clause will, well, increase your grammatical range and accuracy. Now, let's go to the overview. The first thing we need to know is the general trend. Very easy, as you can see here, the UK and the Sweden, obviously downward trend. However, the Italy and the Spain, they are increasingly, so they are upward trend. That's the first thing, the general trend. However, we need one more thing, the comparison, or you can say the special thing, whatever you like. So it's very easy to find the special things here. It's easy to compare here. There are many special things that you can, give here, or you can compare here. You can say the UK is a country that gives the most emissions, dioxide emissions, or you can say Spain was a country that gave the least number of emissions, or you can say Italy is a country that have the fastest growth rate, well, of emission. There are many things. However, I would like to draw your attention to the last decade. As you can see here, at the last 10 years period, there are not much changes, and the figures are actually stabilized, right? So I would say something like they are showing signs of stabilizing at around 5 to 8 tones. Yeah, right. That's enough analyzing. Let's write an overview. So in general, so that they know we are writing an overview. And then why is the amount of emission in the UK and Sweden experiencing downward trends? Yeah, downward. That of Spain and Italy, on the contrary, were in inverse proportion to their counterparts. Right, let's stop here for a little bit. Instead of using upward trends, they use in inverse proportion to. Well, what I mean is basically the opposite trend with the previous, which is the downward trend. So what's the opposite of downward trend? Upward trends. Okay, please pay attention to the way they use connectors here. conjunction adverb here. You can see they use whilst, which is for formal word, a formal form of while. And on the contrary, very natural here. Instead of using it before the subject, they use it in between the subject and the verb. In my opinion, it's very natural here. Okay, and another thing, another special point, a point that you use to compare. Otherwise, you won't have, full of task achievement. Another point worth mentioning is that obey developing in different manners. The emissions were in fact showing a sign of stabilizing between 5 to 8 tons, like what we have discussed. Now let's go to the body. We have to prove that 2 of them are downward, 2 of them are upward, and they are stabilizing. Let's go to the body. Now let's go to the body. I will write the UK and the Sweden first, as well they are both downward trend. Okay, as you can see here, they are significantly decreased over the period, except for the part of 1977 to 1987. They experience, a rise. Except for that, everything is decreasing. So I will write something like, regarding the emission in the UK, regarding the negligible rise from to, these are details. Don't forget to add them in your sentence, even though it's kind of long, but don't forget to add them in. And you can see between the dash, they say a record high. A record high because, well, in 1987, you can see the emission in UK, is the highest one. So a record high. In order to compare between the others, the amount decreased significantly by in. So we have just finished writing down the UK. Don't write a lot of things, just write this. Now we come to Sweden. First of all, we're gonna have a phrase which tell reader that they are reading about Sweden statistics. So although in a more dramatic manner, Sweden experienced the same trend. In a more dramatic manner, which is they also decrease, but decrease even more than the UK, remarkably cutting down their CO2 emission. The reason why they used cutting down here because the 2 sentences have the same subject, Sweden, and Sweden cut down, so they eliminate one subject, Sweden. The verb becomes verbing, cutting down. For those who don't know, please watch present participle in my YouTube channel. But I think if you seek for 8 point and 9 point, I think you know about this. Okay, so after that, it details about the numbers and about the time, and then they have despite a rather sharp increase from to. Okay, so we have just finished 2 lines. Now let's come to the other 2 lines. As you can see, the other 2 lines, they increase rather considerably, except for the last 10 years, where one of them level up and one of them decrease very gradually. In contradistinction, this one is used to change idea from one idea to another. Contradistinction is like however, it's like on the other hand. The emission in Italy and Spain witnessed upward developments. Upward developments. Okay, during the first 30 years, surging from to and from to respectively. As you can see here, they do a very complicated. What I mean by saying complicated, well, it's not really about grammar, but it is about details. So they decide to write Italy and Spain at once. It's not feasible, in my opinion, because it's very hard to write as well as to read. But let's see the way they use here. They say 2 of them, Italy and Spain, they search. Yeah, they search, it means increase a lot. And then they give details. And then they say respectively, which means 4.3 to 8 is of Italy and 1 to 5.7 is of Spain. Well, save a lot of words. Nonetheless, there was virtually no change occurring in the last 10-year period, which is the part I told you before, 2007 to 2017. There are virtually no changes. Okay, that is my analysis about Model IELTS Writing Task 1 8 point to 9 point. The full report is here if you want to see it, so you can pause it and type, or you can go to the description, go to my website and take a picture. Okay, I won't make this video lengthy because I think if you seek for IELTS 8 point to 9 points, mean that you are pretty good yourself. So thank you for watching, keep trying, and Merry Christmas.